Yeah, this is downtown Vancouver.
1,000 followers and had created 5 documentaries and had over 35 million views until Twitter decided to censor his life's work. He has been hitting the pavement with the freedom movement since Vancouver's very first rally at City Hall, when there was only a handful of people attending. He has traveled across the province and the country reporting on the world corruption and bringing truth and light everywhere he goes. And don't let this gentleman's gentle nature fool you. He is a fierce lion and has defended himself in the lion's den with the likes of Antifa and even law enforcement, and then went back for more. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to give it up for a true warrior and a true journalist, Dan Dix. Press for Truth.
Hello, thank you so much. That's awesome. Hello, everybody. So good to see you all here. So good to see all your smiling faces. Is it nice to see smiles? Doesn't it feel good to see smiles? Let's see some more smiles. Smiling feels great. In fact, I hope you guys don't mind. I would love to get a selfie with all of you smiling faces for my social media sites, which we will talk about today. So on the count of 3, let's all say, how about end the lockdowns? 1, 2, 3, end the lockdown! Sweet. That's fantastic. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about censorship, essentially. What we have going on right now with these mask mandates is absolutely pure insanity. I'm sure you guys have had just about enough of the Bonnie Henry's mask mandate, right? Are you with me on that? I'm sure you are. I actually haven't worn a mask myself in 9 months. I continue to do what I do. I go to the stores, I do my shopping, I run my errands, and I'm not saying that to brag in any means. I just want to encourage you guys to do the same things, to live free and be free, right? So for anybody who might not know me, my name's Dan Dix. I have an independent media outlet called Press for Truth that I started in 2006. And as I said, I did 5 documentary films. I've done countless videos exposing what's happening in the world. And I can tell you from experience, guys, we are currently in the greatest information war of the 21st century, hands down. So today I'm gonna talk about that, where we are in the stage of that fight. But more importantly, we're going to talk about practical solutions, actually practical things you can actively do when you leave here today. So we're going to start with the topic of the day, censorship. And I've certainly had my fair share of censorship in Vancouver with Press for Truth. In case you didn't know, the Press for Truth website, pressfortruth.ca, cannot be seen on the Wi-Fi at most Tim Hortons restaurants. Did you know that? I guess my truth is a little too hard-hitting for people to have with their morning coffee. Facebook seems to think I'm worthy of being censored. My page had 390,000 people there, and it just disappeared at the snap of somebody's finger. My Twitter account had 25,000 people there, and that was taken down in the blink of an eye as well, because sometimes I like to say men aren't women and women aren't men, so I got terminated there. And then after that, they came for the jugular guys. They took down my YouTube channel. I had over 250,000 subscribers there, posted for 14 years, no community guideline strikes, no copyright strikes. They just terminated my livelihood. That was 7 months ago. They've actually since reinstated the channel, but I'm just using it now to promote trailers because screw censorship on YouTube, right? My videos have been dubbed hate speech by the Anti-Defamation League and the Southern Poverty Law Center. And there's actually also another group called the Anti-Hate Network, and they've identified me as one of their targets and put a flagging campaign against me to try to shut me down. And in the midst of all this happening, we now have our government, we're pushing through this Bill C-10. I'm sure you guys have heard of that, right? Have you? Bill C-10 is something that came out in November of 2020. It was originally meant to just regulate the broadcasting streaming services for Netflix, but there was amendments in the bill for people like me and websites like mine. Well, last week, guys, they removed that amendment. So now me, my site, you, vloggers and bloggers and TikTokers and Twitchers and anybody with an opinion, now if you spew your opinion, you can be considered as engaging in programming. and are now subject to be regulated by the CRTC. So that's what we're dealing with Bill C-10, and it's absolutely ridiculous. So what are we going to do about this, guys? That's the big question. Well, first of all, I have to say, what happened to me with YouTube and Twitter and Facebook and all that was truly a blessing in disguise. Because look, let's face it, Facebook is a spying, tracking tool, right? It's a tracking, tracing, and databasing us. It knows more about you physically, emotionally, spiritually, than you even know about yourself. Twitter is just a cesspool of angry people and hatred. I'm not too worried about that one. And YouTube can really just be called ThemTube now, because they really care more about their friends in Silicon Valley than they do the content creators who help build their platform, right? So again, what do we do about this, guys? Well, I think we have to recognize what the cure, what the virus actually is, so we can offer the cure. And I happen to be of the belief that the virus, ladies and gentlemen, is statism. COVID-19 84 didn't wipe out the mom and pop shops and destroy the economy. It was the government that did that, right? COVID-19 84 didn't cause depressions and suicides and alcoholism to go up as a result of these strict lockdown measures for a virus with a 99.97 recovery rate. The government did that, right, guys? COVID-19 84 is not taking away your individual civil liberties right now. It's the government that is doing that, right? So we have to identify what the problem is. So what do we do? I'm going to propose three things. Number one, we have to, number one is recognize how to recognize the wounded soldiers in the information war and realize when it's time to move on, essentially. Also, we need to teach a healthy distrust of the state and get people to turn their radios and their TVs off. Turn them off, turn them off, turn them off. What was the third thing? Oh yeah, finally, when it comes to censorship, one key word we're going to talk about: decentralization, decentralization, decentralization. All right, so how do we convince people to have a healthy distrust of the state and to turn off their TVs and stuff like that? Well, through my experience, I found that one of the best ways to do this is through something called the Socratic method. Have anybody heard of the Socratic method? Awesome. I'm going to read a very brief dictionary definition of what that is, so you have a general idea of what I'm talking about here. The Socratic method is a method of hypothesis elimination, in that better hypotheses are found by steadily identifying and eliminating those that lead to contradictions. The Socratic method searches for general, commonly held truths that shape beliefs and scrutinizes them to determine their consistency with other beliefs. So the basic form is a series of questions formulated as tests of logic and fact intended to help a person or group discover their beliefs about some topic, exploring definitions or the logos, and seeking to characterize general characteristics shared by various particular instances. So, when we're dealing with the TV watching statist, you have to understand they're like people who have Stockholm Syndrome. They identify with their captors rather than recognizing them as the criminals that they are, so we have to recognize it as and approach it like that. This has to be a conversation with these people where we have to come about this in a calm and rational manner, because we want them to have an epiphany through a series of questions that they don't know what they're talking about, that they completely have been lied to. And the Socratic method is really a great way to do that. Number two. What was number two again? What's that? Yes, we can do that. We can have a Q&A after this if we have time. I don't know. We'll get into that. Where was I? Number one. Number two, recognizing when there are wounded soldiers in the info war, when to help them and when to move on to the next guy who needs help. All of us have had a different experience when it comes to learning about these lockdown measures. We all learn at different degrees. We have different ways of learning. Some people need to not be told these things. They need to figure it out on themselves. That's totally fine. Now, some people out there, you can present them the facts on a silver platter, and they will just look at it and reject it like it's junk food, or roadkill. These are the wounded soldiers in the info war who are too far gone, and we can't help them, and it's time to move on. If somebody is wearing 2 masks, a visor, rubber gloves, and they're dousing themselves in alcohol, they're too far gone. That's one of the wounded soldiers in the info war, and you might as well spend your time on somebody who has fertile ground where your seeds may actually sprout into true freedom and liberty someday. And number 3, guys, in terms of how to deal with censorship, is decentralization. Now, a good way to explain what that is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is decentralized. I don't know if you guys know that Bitcoin doesn't have a headquarters. There's no office, there's no building, there's no CEO, there's no center that you can go and take it down. The network actually exists. It's made up of tens of thousands of individual nodes. They're popping up every day all over the world. So the only way to take it down is to take out every single computer in the world that is running the Bitcoin blockchain, and good luck with that. That's relatively impossible. So what if I were to tell you today, right now, there are social media sites that are built on blockchain technology to the point where even if they try to censor us, even if Bill C-10 passes, you'll still be able to get access to my information and people who find out about this. Well, there are sites like that. I'm on 2 of them right now. I'm live streaming to one of them, Odyssey, right over there. Hello, Odyssey audience. Say hello, Vancouver. That's Odyssey, and also PocketNet. So these 2 sites in particular, they have desktop applications that you can download, and it runs independent of the websites. So if the government takes it down, you'll still be able to access my content through the desktop applications, through all the individual nodes that are running around the world. This is huge. I don't know if you're familiar with Parler. They did it wrong. They were too centralized. Parler, a lot of people hedged themselves against the coming censorship. They moved over to Parler, and the government wiped it out. They weren't centralized enough. We are now in the midst, with the technology we have, to be able to utilize these platforms so that they cannot shut us down, even if they try to. So that's a remarkable thing. That's an amazing thing. That's where we're at, guys. If you want to learn more about that, come talk to me. I'm on many platforms like this, and I strongly encourage other people to get on them as well. And also, moving forward, guys, in the field of independent media, we are going to need your support when it comes to sharing the videos in the face of the censorship. But we also do need your support financially. We're under attack heavily in that area as well. If anybody does want to support my efforts in that way, come talk to me. I'll be here for a few hours for the rest of the day, or you can check it out at pressfortruth.ca/donate. We're up against a behemoth here when it comes to countering the propaganda that's coming out of the mainstream media, but I'm certainly not going to slow down, guys. I'm going to keep doing this. I know, I feel it in my heart that we are coming to a time when this entire pyramid of control and power is going to come crashing down one day. I can guarantee that, guys. And it's going to be a glorious day when it does. Thank you so much, everyone.